Hey folks, welcome to the stream. Just gonna move this screen off to my right. I'm sorry, off to my left. I'm directionally challenged this morning. I hope that won't affect our flight. Quick flight to Spokane today, one I've done before, but I really wanted to check out this new airplane. So here we are at SeaTac Airport. It's early in the morning. Live weather, live time. It's, what time is it? It's 5:49 in the morning in Minneapolis, which means it's 3:49 in the morning here in Seattle. Let's push ready to fly. Wonderful view of our aircraft. No livery today because this is the newest standalone Airbus aircraft, not a modification of the default airplane. The default airplane got all sorts of extra liveries on it. You can make it look like what you want, but this one I don't have any liveries for, so we're using the Airbus demo livery. Folks who have flown with me before, you know that I like a couple of add-ons. They are Pushback Express to give us a ground crew and some ground handling, and of course the all-important pushback. And I also like FS2 Crew's A320 Crew, which gives me a virtual first officer and also some ability to do interactive checklists. They've both been recently updated, so I'm not fully sure how they're going to operate. Okay, I think that is pretty good.
Audio test complete.
Wonderful. Again, I'm going to push both of those off to the side. They're still there, you just don't see them. Here we are. Let's get a jet bridge attached. Let's start the baggage loading process. And we will get some external power. A little bit unrealistic that the power cart is moving into position without a tow vehicle, or more realistically, just a human being pushing it into place. On the D concourse of SeaTac. Let's hop aboard. Well, I do have a virtual first officer, but in this standalone airplane, I don't have a visible first officer, so she's there in spirit, if not actually in sight. Let's go to a program called, what is this program called? It is called SimToolKitPro. And what SimToolKitPro is going to do is going to allow us to plan our flight and it's going to provide the stream an overhead tracking bar, track our progress. So we'll go to IFR flight planning, create a new flight, and we're going to depart from Seattle to Geiger Field in Spokane. We choose a Airbus out of our fleet. And for this flight, we can be American Airlines. Actually, Alaska would be more realistic. I don't know if I have an Alaska. Well, we'll put American Airlines, but for the call sign, I'll use Alaska. Well, I think that'll be fine. I'm going to allow most of the fields to be automatic today instead of using my takeoff calculator and getting everything absolutely precise. We'll allow the fields to be automatic, and then we will the fields that need information that we don't have, we'll just ballpark. Here's our routing. Zadon, Zelek, Xeron, Zoomer with the Zoomer arrival, departing from runway 16 left and landing on runway 8. I don't like runway 8. I want runway 3. So most of this is going to be the same, but on our arrival runway, I'm going to put runway 3. And we will do it again. And the reason I want runway 3 is because, first of all, it's more in line with our route, so we don't have to fly around the airport. But secondly, it has an ILS. And for this first flight of the first airplane, I want a runway with an ILS. Okay, so we'll push fly now. There's our sim brief operational flight plan. And I can minimize this. Let's go to our air traffic control program called Pilot to ATC. You folks who've flown with me before, you know I like this program. Taking just a little time to fire up. Ah, Starbucks, or what I call love juice. Feel the love. Let's tell pilot ATC our flight plan. So we have Zadon, remember, starts with your departure airport and then the major fixes, Z-A-D-O-N, and then the arrival airport, but no SIDS and no stars. Zelak, Z-E-L-A-K, Ziron, Z-I-R-O-N, Zoomer, Z-O-O-M-R, and then KGEG. Import that. And you can see here on the air traffic control menu that the routing looks exactly like the routing that we have from SimBrief. The only difference is we're going to add the star manually. And the star is the zoomer. Okay, let's bring this back up. Zoomer 1 with arrival to 03. So let's select the runway as 03, the arrival as Zoomer 1, and the transition as Zoomer. That's it. And we will load it in. Let's connect to the simulator. And, well, actually, I'm going to hold off on that because I know that the ATIS will come on right away. Once I do that, I don't want to hear that ATIS right away. So let's push this air traffic control program off to the side. I'll minimize our I forget what this is called. Anyway, toolbox, SimKit toolbox, and let's. Oh my goodness! Here comes our flight attendant.
Let's start setting up.
Okay.
Okay, she's going to do her thing in the back. Meanwhile, we'll do our thing up here. We have external power. We're going to use it. Fans turning on. Battery 1. Battery number 2. Turn up some of these integrity lights. Arm the emergency exits. No smoking sign on. Seatbelt sign on. Nav to either 1 or 2. Strobe to auto. ADIR system 1 to nav. ADIR system 2 to nav. ADIR system 3 to nav. Let's do a fire test on the APU, the auxiliary power unit. We're going to be using it in just a bit. And we'll do a smoke test in the cargo area. Wonderful. Let's go down to the flight management computer. We'll go to the ATSU menu, the aircraft company menu, and then from the company by data link, which is an FM transmitter, we're going to initialize our flight. Initial data request. Let's request our information from the company that we have already set up through SimBrief. Here we are, American Airline flight number 43, Seattle to Geiger. Fuel on board is 9.5, but we won't need anywhere near that much. 35-minute flight. And this page number 2 mostly can fill out after you have landed. How much flight time, who the landing pilot was, did you use auto land, time in, time out. So that page number 2 is for after the flight is over. Let's go back to the company menu and we'll do a weather request. Let's get our weather request for Seattle. For it's such a short flight. Let's just get them for our arrival and destination. METAR is current weather. We'll send. TAF is forecasted weather. We'll send that. We'll get an ATIS for Geiger in Spokane. That's our arrival airport. We'll send it to the printer. Now that we have a printer in this wonderful airplane, we'll send that. And we'll do a weight and balance. Oh, let's go down to the printer and see if it printed. Maybe not yet. Maybe I have to go to received. Here we go. Go to received. ATIS. Not available. Okay. Here's our terminal aerodrome forecast, or forecasted weather. We'll push print. Here it comes. Terminal aerodrome forecast for Seattle and for Spokane. And we'll go to our METAR for Spokane and Geiger. We'll print that. We'll do a weight and balance. Again, we're going to send for our operational flight plan. We already got it. Trip fuel, 1796. That's a far cry from the 9600 that we currently have aboard. So I'm going to push fuel right here. Take a look at this. Oh. There we go. Okay, fuel on board is 9460 kilograms. But if I push the load button, that'll actually bring our load. It'll pump fuel out and give us the fuel that we want just for Spokane. There we go. Now we're at 5560. Our block fuel calculation is 5630, so we're okay there. Let's go to page number 2, page 1 of 2. Let's go to page 2 of 2. 172 passengers, our zero fuel weight calculation, and our center of gravity, baggage load, and we will load that payload with this button. We are loaded. We are done with the company menu. Now let's go to the McDo menu, FMGC. We'll verify our aircraft, A320-200. We have LEAP 1A engines. Our AIRAC cycle is current as of yesterday. I believe yesterday was the 21st, so we're actually out of date by 1 day. Oh goodness. Okay, well, those AIRAC cycles, every 28 days they change, so it moves pretty fast. Let's go to our data page and then to aircraft status. Okay, initialization request. Flight number 43 from Seattle to Spokane. Alternate is back in Seattle. Tropopause level is way 35,000 feet. We won't even be anywhere near that. I'm going to kick up our cost index from 5 to 85. Now remember, it's a number from 0 to 100, and the higher that number is, the less efficient your aircraft is. So we're going to be not as efficient, but we'll get there a little faster. Okay, flight level 270. We don't really need to get very high today. I'm going to go to the air traffic control program, pilot to ATC, and I'm going to make sure our flight parameters are in that range. So cruise altitude is currently at 360. I want it to be down to 270. And we have a expected climb gradient and expected descent gradient of 1,500 feet per minute. That is correct. And we have a planned ground speed of 300 knots. We're actually going to be quite a bit faster than that, but I'm going to leave that alone. That will be fine. Okay, push that back over. Actually, now that we have power on the airplane, it would be a good idea to go ahead and connect the air traffic control, because we're going to be getting our clearance here. Listen to the ATIS.
Logi Airport information, Oscar 11000. Wind 203 at 14. Visibility 10. Sky condition.
Weather is not currently available by KSEA, international. Arriving and departing runway 34 left, 34 center, 34 right.
UNH 29.991. ILS runway 14 right and visual runway 14 left in use. Landing and departing runway 14 right and runway 14 left. DSR aircraft, say direction of flight.
Weather is not currently available by KSEA, international. Arrive.
My last flight was on Delta Airlines, and I need just to take a second out, go to configuration settings, and tell the program that we are AAL.
Hi, the security and safety check are all done. Are we good to start boarding?
Yes, you can start boarding.
Okay.
Seattle clearance delivery. American 4-3, ready to copy.
American 4-3 is cleared to Kilo Golf Echo Golf, climb via the JEFPO 1 departure, with the JEFPO transition, then
American 4-3 is cleared to Kilo Golf Echo Golf, climb via the JEFPO 1 departure, with the JEFPO transition, then as filed. Climb to 9,000 feet via the departure. Expect higher clearances 5 minutes after departure. Departure on 120.1. Squawk 5362.
American 43 read back correct. Altimeter 29er 2 let us know when you're ready for pushback.
Altimeter 29er 2 American 43.
Heading, runway heading, initial climb altitude, and we'll get our squawk code put in there, which was, I accidentally hit a button and I cut off the controller, so that's why you didn't hear the controller read the full clearance. But our first officer caught the mistake and she read back the full clearance, so we do have it. 5362 is our squawk code. What that does, it amplifies the ground sends up radar to know where you are, and then when the airplane senses that radar, it amplifies it, makes it stronger, and it also encodes our altitude, our flight number, our airspeed, other parameters. And the way the controller can tell our airplane from other airplanes is by having a unique squawk code. So she's given us that squawk code, and that will differentiate us from other aircraft as our airplane interrogation is being amplified. I'm going to turn on the progressive wind shear system button right here. I'm going to arm the speed brakes, and I'm going to turn on the auto brake to maximum. Also, we'll get some of these other lights turned up. We have our clearance, we have our flight preparation in the, well, we haven't done all, I apologize, we haven't done all of it. We've gotten the basics done. Let's go to our flight plan, and from Seattle, we are departing on runway 34 right. There it is. And the controller wants us to use the JEPO 1 departure. Initially, I didn't have a departure at all, but he asked us to have JEPO 1. And we know that when we land in Spokane, we're going to have the ILS to runway 3, and it's going to be on the Zoomer 1 arrival. Let's look for any discontinuities. Nope, no discontinuities. We're looking good. So now we can go to performance. We have our takeoff runway as 3-4, flap setting of 1, and here's, because I didn't use a calculator, here's an estimated guess. I'm going to put in a stabilizer trim setting of, now remember, stabilizer trim is automated, so even if this number isn't correct, it will self-correct very, very quickly. So it's not critical. But let's put down 0.0. And flex temp again, with no calculator, this is an estimate. I'm going to put in a flex temp of 56. What this does, it instead of using maximum takeoff thrust, this artificial temperature tricks the airplanes, tricks the engines into operating slightly less efficiently. And this is good for noise abatement reasons, and it's also good to extend engine life. So we'll do a flex temp takeoff. The runways are certainly long enough. Here in North America, we have a transition altitude of 18,000 feet, so we'll add that in. And because we didn't use the takeoff calculator, we don't have calculated V-speeds, but we'll trust that the aircraft has already calculated them for us. So 136 on the V2, I think that's a little low. 132 on the V-rotate, and 131 on the VR. Okay, that is our performance page. And with that, I believe we are finished. So let's have the legs page available for takeoff. And we can, for the first time, meet our first officer, and we can run a checklist. How you doing today, first officer?
Before start checklist.
Cockpit prep.
Uh-oh, gotta go to settings. This program just recently got updated. Completed.
Before start checklist.
Cockpit prep.
Completed.
Completed. Gear pins and covers.
Removed.
Signs.
On and auto.
Adheres.
Nav.
Fuel quantity.
Set.
Takeoff data.
Set.
Barrel ref.
2992. Set.
2992. Set. Down to the line.
Wonderful. Kick up some more of these lights. It's like a dungeon in here. Maybe I'm a little extreme with the lights, but I'd rather have it illuminated. Let's check in with the ground crew.
Cockpit to ground.
Go ahead, flight tech.
We will be ready shortly.
Okay, I will hold.
Cockpit to ground.
Go ahead, flight tech.
Confirm all ground checks complete. We're cleared to pressurize the hydraulics.
All ground checks are complete, and you are clear to pressurize the hydraulics.
Wonderful. Let's take a look outside. Looks like the baggage process is complete. Let's fire up the APU. Notice the beacon light is not on. Just in preparation of firing up the APU, and we're going to turn the beacon on to warn ground personnel to watch out. Things are going to start to move. Hot gases are going to start to flow. So, beacon on. And before we fire up we've already done an APU fire test. Let's do an engine 1 fire test. An engine 2 fire test. Turn the fuel pumps on. Turn the crew oxygen supply on. And APU master switch. 1, 2, 3. APU start. And APU bleed. The bleed air will provide high pressure air to the engines for engine start. turn on the APU screen.
Ground generic Alpha Tango, November 3471 requesting pushback.
Generic Alpha Tango November 3471 pushback request accepted.
We have APU. So let's get rid of the ground part.
Hi guys, here's the load sheet for you.
Thanks.
No problem, have a safe flight.
There goes ground power. Let's kind of frustrated a little bit with this camera. Lock the cabin door. Frustrated with this camera. Okay, that's the one I wanted. Why it took so long to get there, I don't know. Okay. We are looking really good. Looks like 6 more minutes. Let's hurry things along a little bit here.
Hey guys, are we clear to close?
Yes.
Thanks. Let me know if you need anything.
Ground generic Alpha Tango November 3471 requesting the end of pushback.
Generic Alpha Tango November 3471 request to end pushback received.
Ground generic Alpha Tango November 3471 with India ready to taxi IFR.
Generic Alpha Tango November 3471 taxi to involve short of runway 16 center via taxiway Bravo Charlie, cross runway 16 left Charlie. Contact tower on 119er decimal 9er when ready.
Seattle ground. American Ford train request pushback and engine start. Seattle ground. American Ford train request engine start.
Taxi to involve short runway 16 center using taxiway Bravo Charlie, cross runway 16 left Charlie, generic 471.
Seattle ground. American Ford train ready
American 4-3 ready for pushback and engine start.
American 4-3 pushback and engine start approved.
Pushback and engine start approved. American 4-3.
Cockpit to ground.
Go ahead, flight deck.
We are ready for pushback and engine start.
Roger. Release the parking brakes, please.
Finding this camera system frustrating.
Parking brakes released.
Pushing back.
Why can't I release the parking brake?
You are clear behind, and you can start your engines at your discretion.
Below the line.
Windows and doors.
Closed.
Closed. Beacon.
On.
Thrust levers.
Idle.
Parking brake.
Off.
Before start, checklist complete.
Starting engine 2. Starting engine 1.
We are on engine power, so we can cut the APU bleed. And we can cut the APU. Generally still be frustrated with my view system. Pushback is leaving me. I didn't turn my brakes back on. Don't really know what's going on with that. Okay, my brakes are on, no acknowledgement. He just unhooked and left. And my views are very jerky, and I don't know why. Well, let's finish that checklist.
After start checklist.
Anti-ice.
Set.
ECAM status.
Checked.
Pitch trim.
26% set.
Rudder trim.
0.
After start checklist complete.
Let's go to our flight control check.
Flight control check.
Full down. Full up. Neutral. Full right. Full left. Neutral.
Rudder.
Full right. Full left. Neutral.
Wait for you to do it on your side.
Clear left side.
Clear right side.
Okay, let's call for taxi clearance. As soon as I get my view back. This is so frustrating. This is really going to be a complaint if I can't just control my views. This is just not responding at all. Okay, here we go. Got my view back, so I didn't do it by the menu, that's for sure. This is just an untenable situation. Okay, well, let's call for a taxi clearance. Seattle ground, American Ford Tree, request taxi, runway tree 4 right.
American Ford Tree taxi to runway 34 right via taxiways Bravo, Old Short runway 34 right.
Taxi to runway 34 right via taxiways Bravo. Hold short runway 34 right American 43.
Parking brake off. This is so jerky. I'm going to go to escape just to the menu for just a bit and see if when I come back it'll square itself away. No, really didn't take away the jerkiness. I don't know if I can operate like this.
Brake check.
Pressure 0.
Before takeoff checklist.
Flight controls.
Checked.
Checked. Flight instruments.
Checked.
Checked. Briefing.
Confirmed.
Flap setting.
Config 2.
Config 2. V1. VR. V2. Flex temp.
V1 130 VR 140 V2 150
V1 130 VR 140 V2 150 ATC.
Set.
ECAM memo.
Takeoff. No blue.
Down to the line.
Okay, we've dinged the cabin crew. We'll test configuration, and that should be okay. Oh, it doesn't like flat position. Taxi get out of control. turn off the master caution. I can't seem to... I just can't seem to control this situation. Let's see here. Flaps should be to 1. Can't clear that.
Below the line.
Cabin crew, be seated for takeoff. Takeoff runway.
Confirmed.
Confirmed. Cabin crew.
Advised.
Engine mode selector.
Normal.
Packs.
On.
Before takeoff checklist complete.
It should be 3-4 right. Our air traffic control should be noting that we're here. Seattle ground. American forward tree, ready for departure, runway tree 4 right.
Aircraft calling ground, say again with your call sign.
Seattle ground, American forward tree, ready for departure, runway tree 4 right.
American 43 contact tower on 119.9er.
Tower on 119.9er American 43.
Seattle Tower, American forward tree, ready for departure, runway tree 4 right.
American 43, this is Tower, go ahead.
Seattle Tower, American forward tree, ready for departure, runway tree 4 right.
American 43, contact ground on 121.7 for taxi instructions.
Ground on 121.7 for taxi. American 43.
Well, we're just not going to deal with air traffic control any longer. We have been given takeoff clearance by ourselves.
Ready.
Ready.
Takeoff. Man flex, SRS, runway, auto thrust blue.
Check.
Go into the flex temp position.
Thrust set.
Can't turn off the master warning.
$100 knots.
Check.
This jerkiness is still with us.
V1. Rotate. Positive climb.
Gear up.
Gear up.
Flap 0.
Speed checked. Flap 0.
AP1.
Check.
Going into climb position. wondering why my overlay banner is not coming up. Not happy about that. Still no overlay. Well, we're going to continue the flight. Looks like we're smoothed out. That's good. I don't know how it's smoothed out, but let's go ahead and get cleared to our cruise altitude of flight level 270. We certainly need more than 9,000 feet to get over these mountains, which are just to our east. Just a little hint of sunrise on the horizon. I did not take the time to go to our radio page and enter any of our radio frequencies. 35 miles from Xeron. Let's move out our range a little bit. Looking at a little spaghetti as we get to Zoomer. The routing looks okay.
After takeoff, climb checklist.
Landing gear.
Up.
Flaps.
Retracted.
Packs.
On.
Down to the line.
Below the line.
Barrel ref.
Standard set.
Standard set. After takeoff checklist complete.
It's set standard.
Set standard.
Standard cross check. Passing flight level 271.
You have control.
I have control. Now.
Check.
We're on the Zoomer 1 to runway 3. Here's Zoomer. The approach chart. After gangs, proceed to Geiger VOR via Geiger radial 232. So the outbound radial is 232, the inbound course is 052. Maintain last assigned altitude to Geiger VOR. I don't think we're going to do this Yakup transition. It's not in the flight management computer. So when we get to Zoomer, I think we're going to do just an intercept. And we're reaching a time in the flight where we can go ahead and set up our arrival in the flight management computer. Let's descend to 4,000 feet. Yeah, we're having some problems here on our routing. We're going every which direction. First we're going to Geiger and then back to Zoomer. But actually, we're high enough now where we kind of need that. So...
I have control.
You have control.
Approach checklist.
Briefing.
Confirmed.
ECAM status.
Checked.
Barrel ref.
2992. Set.
2992. Set. Minimum.
Set.
Set. Engine mode selector.
Normal.
Approach checklist complete.
I'm actually going to go out of managed mode and into heading mode. Well, no, I'm going to leave managed mode alone because again, we need time to descend. Turn the auto brakes on medium. Arm the speed brakes. Well, the jerkiness upon taxi needs to be addressed, and it's either me or the whole system. There needs to be a lot of work on camera control. But generally, I'm happy with the new airplane. I'm actually very happy with the new airplane, not generally, just very happy with the new airplane.
Cabin crew, prepare for arrival. Spokane is a bit unique in that many cities that have an Air Force base or an Air National Guard will actually share the airport with the Air National Guard. Spokane has an Air Force base with its own runways, but the Air Force base and the civilian airport are very, very close to each other. So if you're not using some type of electronic navigation, you can easily end up on the wrong one. Don't do that. To let the airplane follow the spaghetti. We're still very high, but our speed is on profile. That's good. Geiger VOR is our next waypoint at 16 miles. Had I started the descent earlier, I know I would have just gone off of autopilot, taken a heading to Zoomer, and then re-engaged the autopilot at Zoomer. But I noticed that we were high, and this approach will get us
online with the runway, but it'll take a little zigging and zagging to get there. But in that zigging and zagging, we have a chance to lose the altitude without having to engage the speed brakes or do any Top Gun maneuvers. So the airport to our far left, which is now coming out of view, that I believe is the Fairchild Air Force Base, which is the Air Force runway. And then the one to our immediate left, the one that's more in view now, is Geiger Spokane Field. And then if you look in the distance to the left, there's another airport there. I believe that one is called Felts Field. Not generally for airliners, but I know in the past I've landed an airliner there. Not really supposed to, I imagine. It is a general aviation field. I imagine we'll be down to 4,000 feet long before we reach a point to intercept the glide slope. Getting just a bit of jerkiness. I hope this isn't a prelude of things to come.
2,500. 2,500.
That's the radar altimeter, which points straight to the ground from our underbelly.
Checked.
So that's giving us a not a MSL, but an AGL above ground level. We have captured localizer. Just a little touch of overspeed there.
Flaps 1.
Speed checked. Flaps 1.
Flaps 2.
Speed checked. Flaps 2.
Gear down.
Gear down.
Flaps 3.
Speed checked. Flaps 3.
Flaps full.
Speed checked.
Flaps full.
Cabin crew, be seated for landing.
Landing checklist.
Cabin crew.
Advised.
Auto thrust.
Speed.
Auto brake.
Low.
ECAM memo.
Landing. No blue.
Landing checklist complete.
We're coming up to glide slope capture. One knot of wind coming right off of our right forward right quarter. We have glide slope capture. getting our jerkiness back. We're getting quite a bit of jerkiness back. We need to do something with our settings to relieve that, I think.
$1,000.
Checked.
Yes, this jerkiness near the ground is unacceptable.
$500. $400. $100 above. Minimum.
Continue.
Ready on the reversers.
$100. $50. $40. $30. $20. Retard.
Spoilers, reverse green, decel. $70 knots.
That's a